Beaming out across the galaxy, this is where conspiracy on the wild side meets the perspective of a lifetime. This is the Free Zone with your host, Freeman.
Hello and welcome to the Free Zone. Well, are we hashtag in this together? Are we ready for this plandemic? Yes, it's been thought of before. It has been movies. I did a film, TV show about it 12 years ago, outlining this very scenario. And yet Donald Trump is ready to tell us there's never been anything like this before. And nobody thought this was possible. All right. So for us today, we are going to pull together a lead panel to try and understand the invisible scourge. This will be a show on COVID-19 and the novel coronavirus. But let me just get the disclaimers out of the way. This is not medical advice. This is not a call to action. This is not us attempting to point the fingers at any nefarious activities. This is a group of intelligent men coming together to try and understand what is going on planet Earth right now. So just so you understand, there is no way at all that we are going to be giving you any sort of medical advice here. We're going to just tell you about life, the universe, and everything in the world, the post-COVID world. So tonight, we will be having the wonderful panel, including Stefan Verstappen, with all of the survival understanding you could possibly need. Masaki Miyagawa, who has been through so many different scenarios living in third worlds and is our frequency modulation expert. And soon, hopefully, Joe Atwill will be joining us for the strategies that are being put into place. But we are going to have an amazing council here for you today, and it is definitely going to go by fast, so we need to jump in, get going, and get this underway. So welcome to the show. Right now we have Masaki and Stefan Verstappen ready to roll. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hi, Freeman.
Hey.
So here we are. I've been watching these invisible scourge alert conferences that the president has been putting out every day, and I can't help but feel like he's an idiot. Let's start with just some of the dumb shit that Donald Trump said. I don't think we will ever have another event like COVID-19. Nobody thought this was possible. Let's start there. Let's see. I made a video about it 12 years ago. Bill Ryan made a video about it 10 years ago. The event 201 or 21, whatever that one is, was just months before. And yet we have somebody that's supposed to be our authority figure telling us, well, we never thought this would happen. This does seem like a plandemic, doesn't it, guys?
Well, this is Masaki here. I'm pretty sure that when Trump came in, that the Obama transition team, they briefed the Trump people on various scenarios, and one of them was, guess what? An outbreak. So
yeah.
Yep.
Not to mention that there were this exact scenario going on at the Wuhan military games. Yep. I think that was November, October. The Wuhan military games, they did a plandemic live exercise on the possibility of a coronavirus. So,
yeah.
Okay, enough said about that, right? Like, okay, obviously we knew.
I mean, it's to the point where because you have this particular phenomenon, this situation that's going on now, Freeman. But if you pull back and you look at, say, all your material from day one when you came out talking about, 2001, September 11th, right? You can draw a straight line to today, everything that you've been saying. And so when you put it in that context, and also just knowing the time we're in, I really think that the time for investigation and the learning is kind of it's either coming to a close or it's already closed, and the people that know or have their eyes open are open to what we're talking about now. And there's a lot of other people that um, I think the time has passed, and I think also that now you're seeing the benefit of being into our kind of information, because all these years we were called the conspiracy theorists, we're the kooks, we're the people on the fringe. But guess what? Now the norm is not answering what's happening, and it's people like you might have even got calls of people saying, you know what, like, what do you think's going on? Because it's, although I think we all knew something like this was coming, even I'm kind of shocked how out front and how wide reaching it is, because this is not just a few countries, it's like the whole planet. Even the small countries in Latin America are on lockdown, so there's really nowhere to run. This is the all chips in year one of the 2030 plan, you know.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So the simple questions that we're all having, this idea that there have been 7 deaths in my state, right? So we're all looking at this scenario going, wait a minute. I mean, even the president said that let's not let the cure be worse than the problem. Let's get everybody back to work. If you already had the illness, then you can go back, just wear a mask and make sure to social distance. He seemed very excited about that idea of, wait a minute. It's like somebody just told Trump, hey, you know what? If we shut everything down like this, the economy's going to collapse. And the next day he comes out and goes, oh my God, you guys, you know what? We weren't built for this. That's what he said. We were not built to be shut down. So we need everybody going back to work. So where are we in this situation? Like, just your opinions of the idea that we're seeing something that appears to be less dangerous than the flu, and yet we're talking about producing hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of respirators at the cost of $25,000 to $50,000 a respirator, or ventilator, excuse me, let me get that straight, the ventilators. So, they're talking about building millions and millions and millions of ventilators, yet the numbers don't seem to, even the numbers in New York don't seem to qualify for millions of respirators. So do you guys feel like this has been just a planned scenario and that the problem isn't as big as the media is making it? Or is it the other way around, that we're not being told enough to actually react properly because they don't want us to know the dirty, dark secret of it all? Any thoughts?
Well, I think when in the early days, when the thing started hitting, because we heard about it first in China, but it was kind of far off, Me personally, I do think it's important to take your basic precautions. I was telling my followers, some of the things like colloidal silver, so forth, green tea extract. There's a number of things like turmeric that are not expensive and good to take. Also, air ionizer, ionized air. People in Asia know about this. Also helps from chemtrails, which I think, Freeman, can't prove it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking about social distancing. Well, how does that help if they're spraying something extra, whether it's the virus itself or some
let's not get into
co-infection?
conspiracy theories yet. We're going to save those for the end of this program. Let's stick to what we know.
Right.
Are you taking this serious? Are you?
Well, yeah. So I was saying at first, because we had limited information and we're also in the moment, right? I was focusing more on the above board health effects. But
so you're working on your immune system.
Yeah, and I think that's good to do. But once you've covered that, and then we get to pull back, we get a couple more weeks into it, just like you're saying, this thing is multi-layered. There's no one answer. There's different strains. There's the 5G also. And I think depending on the region, there's different things going on. But just like you said, basically, from what I can see in LA, We don't have people. We don't have the videos of people falling over in the street like in China.
Right.
There are people that are at risk, like you have your retirees,
The
people that
useless
are,
eaters.
yeah. Well, the people that are the weakest, the immune compromised, people that are,
The
in their
useless eaters.
70s.
It's a eugenicist dream, right? Because it really does attack the useless eaters.
Which should
I don't
tell
use that term, obviously.
you.
I'm not some elite, but this is a eugenicist dream, being that those that are targeted are the ones that are weak and feeble.
Which should tell you, if you just draw a line back, who are the groups that are always have this very eugenics mentality. But it's just like you were saying, the reaction does not warrant this kind of lockdown. Even worst case scenario, which would be terrible, we have a couple million dead in the US. But how many people are going to have their lives destroyed? People are just going to give up and, suicide or something like that. When you destroy their livelihood, you literally tell them you cannot work. And, just like in LA here, the mayor said, if you are quote unquote non-essential, and what's non-essential, right? I mean, everybody needs some source of income. They're just turning the tap off. The mayor said, if you are quote unquote non-essential and you do not shut down, we're going to turn off your water and power.
Yes.
So it's like, I don't have to say much more. The Freeman Fly listeners, I think you know what this is about. This is about they're forcing an economic collapse to start the new currency system, the digital system.
All right, we're getting to that. Okay, we're coming to that. So are you taking it serious? Are you social distancing? Are you keeping yourself in your house? What are you doing?
I mean, I'm just taking the basic precautions, and if I get sick, Freeman, I was doing something wrong, because I have the Rife machine, I have air ionizers, I have a air ionizer pendant, I have the coil, I have everything. For me, I am taking, this basic precautions, but I'm not like freaked out.
Right,
There's a lot of people. I'm in Adam Schiff's district here in LA. So I'm in the super of that kind of, this is super blue state here. And it's interesting that a lot of those kind of social justice warriors are the ones that are most, they're like scared rabbits, And
or
when
they're
you're
out licking toilet seats and bus poles.
And when people are in a high emotional state, they're very, easily manipulated. So, I'm taking my basic precautions, but I'll tell you this, Freeman. I was at the Trader Joe's the other day, and now we have to be like 6 feet apart, and everybody's in line. It's taking up to like 45 minutes sometimes to get in now. And in my mind, I'm like, where do we know of where people waited in line and you could only get like 2 of each item? I think that was called Soviet Russia.
Yes.
So they're training us. But beyond that, I had a lady stick her hand right in my face and say I was too close, because I got the Asian face. So they're people are becoming more separated. Literally, they're saying social distancing and all this stuff, when we should actually be coming together. Because I was mentioning, I've been to Brazil. It's like my second home. I've been there probably like 20 times or more. And in those kinds of collapsed economies, the thing that keeps people going is extended family and close social connection. But here, they're collapsing us and trying to separate us at the same time,
Right.
Sure.
So, Stefan, are you taking it serious? Are you keeping yourself quarantined, or are you?
Well, I've been practicing social distancing for like 30 years.
Right.
It's nothing new for me. I don't go to big crowds. I never liked big crowds. I went to a few concerts when I was young, but I'll be honest with you, I don't like big crowds. I don't go to the big hockey game or the basketball game or the concert. I've never liked it, so I avoid big crowds anyways. Also, I've always been, I'm not, germophobic or anything like that, but I've been careful. You know, I wash my hands when I get home. I've always done that. I know when I take public transportation and I hang on to the rail there in the subway, the handguard there, I know that there's probably been 1,000 people that just went to the bathroom and didn't wash their hands that touched that before me. So I don't touch, I'm careful because I don't want to get E. coli and I don't want to get the cold or the flu because, and so far I've been successful. I hardly ever get sick. You know, people all around me get the flu and they're sick for a week and, you know, they get over it and all that. But hey, I don't want to be, you know, sweating in my bed for 3 days and puking my guts out. So I wash my hands anyways, and I don't touch my face. So I've been practicing this social distancing my whole life. And it's, you know, even back in the days when everybody would pass a doobie around, you know, I wouldn't put the doobie to my lips. I would smoke it like a chillum.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I put it between
Mhm.
my first finger and my second finger and make a fist, and I would smoke it through my thumb. You know, so
Yeah, out
I never actually came in contact with the moist part of a joint. You know.
right. Right. Yeah, out at rainbow gatherings, this is heavily practiced because it's a tight-knit community without a lot of sophisticated cleaning equipment. So, don't touch the thing to the thing is a common term you will hear at Rainbow all the time. You know, don't put your cup to the water spout. Don't touch your thing to the thing. It's a thing, that we all practice. And I too, honestly, my life hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, me neither. And you know, no double dipping on the chip dip. You
There you
know.
go. Okay, so next thing, you guys tell me that your store aisles are still full. Okay, I live in a pretty standard area. I mean, Greenville is one of the top cities of America. It's a very rich place. We have Maserati dealerships and such. Teslas are common. And, BMWs are actually like the Volkswagens around here. But at the same time, the current stocks as far as rice, beans, eggs, milk, meat of any sort, other than bison, they have ground bison, you cannot get. All right. So for me, I was lucky enough, and this one's gonna go more to you, Stefan. But also you, Masaki, because you've lived in the countries where people have to take these things into consideration every day in the third world, as we are now. But so fortunately for me, I already had some prep. I already had some rice and beans and cans and all of that going on. I did not think anything was going to happen in my little town. I did not. I mean, yes, Greenville's a big city, but I live outside of it. I live off in a suburban, ruralist area. Anyway, I did not expect my store shelves to be empty, and they have been empty for over a week now. So if I had not already had my rice and beans, I wouldn't have anything to eat right now, and there wouldn't be anything there for me to get.
Yeah, that's very scary. Where I live is I live in Oakville, Ontario, which is kind of a rich bedroom community outside of Toronto, and we still had food in our grocery store. I started adding to my stockpile January 1st because I knew this was coming, Freeman. When when it came out with this Wuhan virus nonsense already starting in early January, I went, we don't know anything, but I'm expecting something like this. Listen, we have been winning for the last 10 years. Never in history has so many people been aware of the Federal Reserve and the plantation slave system that we live under and the chemtrails and the pedophiles that rule this planet. And, everybody's, more people have woken up now. And then we had the Hong Kong protests, good for them, and the Yellow Vest protests and Brexit, so and Hungary is keeping out the immigrants and things like that. There's more and more nationalist parties forming, and people are going towards the right wing. So never before in history has the deep state, the evil SOBs, been more exposed. And they no doubt created this internet so that they can keep an eye on us. But everything has a repercussion, and it backfired on them. They shot themselves in the foot with the internet, and now more information about their evil deeds is spread throughout the world than ever before in history. So I knew they were going to get desperate and do something really uh, um, drastic. So I'm keeping my eye out because listen, I've been predicting this stuff. We all have been. Misaki, you've been keeping an eye out for this. We know this was coming. We knew it was coming. So I'm looking for the signs ahead of time. What's this? If there's a border skirmish, I keep my ear out. Is this going to escalate into World War III? Should I start stockpiling something up? When they're rolling out the 5G, I'm going, okay, better keep an eye on that. Maybe I should stockpile up on tinfoil hats because ironically, it's probably a tinfoil hat that would save you from 5G, which is why they made sure that tinfoil hats were made ridiculous, I'm pretty sure. But so when this virus came out, I went, oh yeah, virus, that's a good idea. You kill a lot of people. You don't destroy the infrastructure. You can tear everything down through a medical martial law, institute your evil schemes of vaccinating everybody with the stupid vaccine and giving them a chip implant. And once they lift the martial law, everybody's a complete and total zombie slave to the system. So when I started hearing about this, I started stocking up, and now I'm good. I got lots of food.
How about you, Masaki?
Yeah, I should have probably accelerated my stocking up because same thing. I knew this was coming. I actually put out a report, free report on my Patreon about 2020 because I deal with the numbers. I'm a numerologist, so just based on that 2020 number, it's one of the most powerful combinations. The 22-4, 22 is the master builder. You could say the master mason. So what does that say? That means that this year would be the year to start the long-term plan of building some kind of structure, maybe even a 2030 plan, like wink, wink. And then also, like 2 and 2 is 4. 4 is Aquarius Uranus energy, which means what? Chaos, right? So that's what we're seeing, the overturning. It's like Trump is the perfect guy because he has a lot of that chaotic Aquarian energy in him to rule over this time period. But I was going to the store, just picking up a couple extra boxes of like pasta and things like that. Should have done more at the time, but I think there's still time to still stock up. I
That's
think
what
that,
I thought.
yeah, because now we're limited to just 2 units of each item.
Well, there aren't any items.
Well, in your area, we still have stuff here, but
Yeah,
when
we
you
still have stuff here too.
when
I
you
would
have
get it. I would get it.
when you have a major disruption like this, even if there is food available, and right now, I do believe that kind of food shortage right now here in LA, it's not such a problem, but it's the supply chain kind of thing. That's where the disruptions happen. But over the long term, basically in our lifetime, especially for people in the West, we saw the lowest prices and the highest quality of life that you could get at the lowest price. And now everything's going to become more expensive, more limited. And it was like I was saying, when I see what's going on right now, I say, I know what this is. This is like Brazil, where you can't get what you want at any time. We're in the Amazon mentality, right? Oh, I can get it tomorrow. Next day free shipping or something, No, you're going to pay more. You're not going to have as much selection, and you have to really be aware of what's going on. And I think our people, Freeman, the people that have had their eyes open, they're some of the most prepared, not just I'm sure there's people out there that either were preppers or they did have some stock or they've been going out there, but I think the mental preparation, that's what is as important or more, because I could tell you there's so many people or their family that have gone through hard times and maybe even came to America or they went to Canada for a better life. But I can tell you, like say World War II, there were people eating bark off of the trees in Japan, but they had the will to survive, And that, I'm not saying it's going to get that bad here, but you really have to have a sense of who you are, some kind of connection to like a higher power, you know, whatever that is, some sense of spirituality, right? And if you're listening to your show, Freeman, a lot of people they have that metaphysical element, but also just having an idea that this period is not going to last. We're in a very restricted period right now, and it's probably going to get even more restricted. But if you have a sense of, even if they have this 2030 plan, this particular period is happening for a reason, to force certain resets. And just to get through this time, just to have that willpower, that will help you get through, even if you have very limited material means, you know?
Yeah, it's certainly, food is one thing to think of, but as people are quickly learning, boredom is the true villain here. And not knowing how to cook, but boredom, is one of the biggest problems. And people are realizing they have no hobbies, they have no life, they have no friends, and they're realizing, oh my God, I'm all alone and I don't have anything to do. Uh, unless you're Madonna sitting in your bathtub singing weird songs about the great equalizer. I don't know if you guys have seen these weird celebrity videos that are popping up from their quarantines, but man, it looks like they have run out of adrenochrome. Okay, so just to help the listeners as to some of the ideas of what they need, because this has been something that's been overwhelming my brain, is what have I forgotten? What have I not thought of? If this carries on for 18 months, what things did I not think of? And I believe, but I don't know, that I have about 4 months of food. I believe that, but I'm not certain. I won't know until I'm through it. But I believe that. I think so. I could last a few months. I got the garden going. I've got plenty of things to do, hobbies and painting and art and music and records and comic books and books. And, I've got plenty to do. I would be more than happy to be quarantined for a year. I would make great art and do all kinds of great things if my bills were all paid, which we're going to get to that. But so let's just some of the ideas of what people should be looking at and things that they didn't think of. For me, it was bleach, which really shocked me. I can't believe I didn't think of bleach, because this is a very necessary item out at the rainbow gatherings for cleaning and washing and keeping even water sanitized. You can put a small amount of bleach into a container of water and it will last longer. Now we're talking a very small amount of bleach, but it will keep the bacteria from growing in that water if you have to store it for long term. So bleach was very important. I went to get bleach. There was none anywhere. And I went to get it on Amazon. It was $36 a bottle. I finally found some hidden on the bottom shelf at the hardware store and grabbed that. So that was one of the things that I hadn't thought of, was bleach. Is there suggestions you both have as far as what people should get?
Stefan, you're the expert.
You are the leading survival expert.
Oh, am I?
You are.
Sorry, I was still sharpening my knife.
Yeah.
What should you get? Well, number one is food of any kind. You see, the people that run the world now were the ones that were behind the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. 60 million people starved to death. They're the same people that were behind the communist revolution in China. They were the ones that funded and backed Mao and bought him his guns and everything he needed to take over China. And, 100 million people starved to death. Ukraine, 20 million people starved to death. I mean, it goes on and on. The simplest and easiest weapon for the powers that be is to cut off the food. And it's child's play to cut off the food. All you have to do is set up roadblocks along some of the checkpoints, along the choke points, the distribution lines, which already we know that's happening now. So yeah, some food is still trickling in. Some places are completely sold out. Some have a little bit. Even in my neighborhood here, where we have the a fully used to be fully stocked grocery store, I notice less and less every time I go, and I go every 2 days, so I notice it. Now we don't have this, now we don't have that, and that is going to continue. And so starvation is been used by the people that run this world to destroy civilizations for hundreds, if not thousands of years. So number one is food. I know, paying the rent and all that kind of stuff is really important too, but you can always negotiate and barter and take out an extra loan or promise to pay the interest if you give me a 2-month break, whatever. Even if you have to go live in the woods, the starvation is what will get you. So number one, first priority right now. I mean, guns and gold and bullets. Yeah, great. That'd be wonderful to have. But the first thing, because you can't eat gold and you can't eat guns unless you're willing to go out and kill people and eat them. The number, which may yet occur, it's happened in the past. It's not something that's unheard of. When people are starving, they go crazy. They are desperate for food. They'll eat bark. They'll eat leather off their shoes. They'll eat grass, and they'll eat other people. Unfortunately, it's true. I wouldn't eat anybody else. I'd rather cap myself before I'd eat somebody. I mean, if it got that bad, I'd say, well, okay, then, thanks, but no thanks. I've had a good life. I don't need to start eating people. But food is the most important thing. So whatever you can do, pick up whatever you can when you can. And that's what
Here's
I've been doing. Like today, I came back from the store. For the first time in a week, there was some ground beef there. So I got like $4 worth of ground beef, and it's in the freezer. Now I can take, a quarter pound of ground beef, and I can stretch that out into 8 meals easy. I mix it in with some spaghetti sauce and put it in, make a giant pot of spaghetti. I can feed 10 people for a couple of days on that,
You could even freeze it and save it for later.
which is what I did. I froze it, saved it for later. Then I
I
found
mean, cook meals, like make meals, prepare a large amount, and then freeze a portion of it so that when it's, like even
exactly.
if you get sick, then it's much easier for you to eat.
Yeah, I can make a giant tub of spaghetti and meatballs, right? Like a huge tub of it, and eat a quarter of it, and put 3/4 in baggies, and put them in the freezer.
So
So
one thing I
then
thought of was a gill net. Like after watching every Survivor show on the planet, I
I
have
have a
watched.
gill net. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I got a stream right. Oh, must be 30 yards from the back of my from the front of my door. There's a stream, and that stream is stocked with salmon because every fall I hear the salmon going up the stream there. They make a lot of noise splashing to get over the rocks. So I got a lot of fish right over there. If I were to string a gill net across this stream, I'd have more protein. I could share it with the neighbors. I'd gather probably a month's worth of protein in 2 days.
right. Now I've seen, if you go out there with your gun trying to find a deer, now they're saying the deers have another virus. So, but you go out, I've watched all the survival shows and they
Hmm.
don't catch anything that way. They don't
Mm-mm.
catch anything with traps. They don't catch anything trying to hunt it. But gill
No.
nets, oh my God,
Yeah.
so folks take that one to heart.
I was
You,
just going to say that too, Freeman. When you said, "Is
okay,
there anything?" I said, fishing gear. Get some
right.
fishing gear, and a gill net. And even if you don't have a gill net, there's all kinds of fish traps that you can improvise just using sticks and reeds and things like that.
That's true.
And you stick it out in the stream. Like for me, it's perfectly easy. Like I said, 30 yards. There's the stream. I could put my gill net in there, come back a couple of days later, and pick up whatever is in there. I
Right. You
don't
don't have
have
to
to
sit there
do
and wait for
anything.
it. Right. Exactly.
I don't have to wait for it. But you can also go out and fish for it. People catch lots of fish using a reel and lure. So that can't hurt. But you can also put the bobbins into water and leave the hooks floating out there. As long as you got a bobbin and a hook and some line, and come back after at the end of the day and see what you've caught. It's not labor intensive at all.
No.
It will bring in protein, and yeah, you can live off of fish that's got a lot of good fish oil. Is really healthy for you. So you've
So,
got your protein and stuff like that, and
do,
it's free.
right. Right. And a gill net won't cost you more than $20.
No, not
So
even. Yeah,
you have a garden going?
I will this year.
All right. My garden is in the ground, at least a lot of it. Okay, Masaki, living in third world countries, visiting China, doing things like that. What are some of the things that the old world can teach us about this new world?
Well, I lived in China one year, and at that time it was like late '90s, They were just kind of starting their ramp up to become the world's factory, right? But basically, a lot of these places outside, let's say the developing countries, especially I've been to Brazil maybe 20 times or more. What you see people doing is just like Stefano was saying, staples, rice, beans, pasta, and then also, I don't know how much you see it in America, but even in Japan, when I visited, any little patch of land, it could be like a little corner patch by a
Yep.
building,
Yep.
they're growing food.
Yes, they are. Yep.
And even if you live in an apartment, if you have something as small as a couple pots of herbs, and you can clip some of the fresh leaves and supplement it to your food, uh, that really, because it's, you're getting not just the nutrients that are in those herbs, it's the life force of the plant. So if you can add that to your diet, it really helps. But beyond that, now this, I put this report out again. I put a report out at the end of last year in September, so that was like maybe 6 months ago. I was telling people, and I think, as readers and people that see the trends, I think we all knew something was coming, but I was specifically saying this year there would be some kind of major economic crisis, and this would be the first year of the so-called reset, right? So I said, because you never know the exact details, but I didn't know an outbreak would kick this off. But in my mind, I was saying, okay, supply chain is going to become a problem. So for people that deal with specialized items, now this isn't exactly survival, but I think you, Freeman, can appreciate this. Specialized items for like music production, instruments,
Entertainment. Yeah. Boredom
yeah,
is
because in Brazil, certain items, let's say for any kind of like media production, those kinds of things, it's so specialized the average person has no need to buy it, so they just mark it up and it becomes very limited. So I advised last year, if you're thinking about upgrading your computer, those kinds of things, wouldn't be a bad idea to do it. And some people may think that's superficial, but you'll see as time goes on, it's just you'll probably still be able to get what you want to get, but it may be you have to do a lot more footwork, and you're going to have to pay a higher price. But beyond that, to, let's say, in this, especially this time of maybe the next 4 to 6 months, when it's very unstable, people are literally locked down, they may not even be able to go to a work location. Virtual is definitely going to rise, and this totally goes along with this Aquarian trend we're on, because the so-called age of Aquarius, and literally this year, the numerology combination of the 2 and 2 equals 4. 4 represents Aquarian energy. So Aquarius, the air sign, right? Like literally the symbol of Aquarius looks like waves, almost like a Wi-Fi sign. So Aquarius often connected to technology. It's often abstracted, which is what? Internet, live streaming. So I'll give you a good example of how some people are making it happen, even though we're in a very difficult period. Here in LA, all of the gyms and yoga studios are closed. Okay. So there are yoga teachers or instructors that are now starting to live stream. And it's very interesting, Freeman. You would think that, maybe they're just doing it to just keep going, to have something to do. No, some of these people, they're actually doing better than they were in a live class, because with virtual, you have like an unlimited reach. You could have like 1,000 people watching you, not just like I don't know how many could fit in a room, like 20, 40. So
unlike Joe Biden, who took 4 days to set up his studio and then had 2,500 people show up.
And then he walked off screen. He couldn't keep it together.
Yeah.
But
But yes, definitely VR is one of the solutions they're giving for isolation. Virtual reality is already being suggested for isolation.
So, in one way, I don't think it's good for everything to be so abstracted and virtual and, without direct human contact. But as a practicality, where we are literally locked down, if you have been thinking about putting a website together, doing online material, that kind
Now
of
is the
thing,
time.
now is the time, because there's a lot of people at home, Freeman, with nothing to do. So,
Exactly.
and I'll
Okay.
give. Let me
All right.
real quick. I'll just give
Go
you
ahead.
some of the numbers. So I personally know of a yoga instructor. He already had a following, but obviously just he's at home, and all of his students, they're at home. So I think his class are like 12 to $15 or something like that. He had 70 people in his last class. That's like for 1 hour. That's over $800 for 1 hour. So I mean, people, like I was saying, the people of a different mind that are going along with this, understand the trends, like this Aquarian energy, but then also are flexible, are adaptable, and the oddballs, Freeman, are people, the Freeman Fly people, the oddballs, the outliers, and the people of a different mind can adapt and actually excel in this time, whereas the so-called normies, they are totally lost.
True enough. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the intrusive surveillance will be considered a small price to pay for the basic freedom of being with other people. This is a direct quote from Life Will Not, We're Not Going Back to Normal. So from now on, there will be pre-COVID and post-COVID. So we are in the midst of intrusive surveillance. So in 2008, I put out The Money Spell, which was a video of the Freeman perspective way back when I had a television show 12 years ago. And on this video 12 years ago, I'm discussing how the norovirus was coming in and that they were trying to ramp up the Real ID Act at this time. This was 12 years ago. Now people are hearing about dirty cash and the Real ID necessary, and that smartphones will combat the COVID as we start to unleash AI to track clusters and cells of the vaccinated and of the disease itself. So here we are now, where you cannot use cash. Dirty cash is dirty. The blockchain's going to become a much better thing, and intrusive surveillance will be okay as long as we still get to hang out with one another. So how do we react to this, right? Like this is a new 9/11. This is the idea that everything is moving in, and Donald Trump came forward. I should call him President Trump, came forward and announced that they were moving forward the date for the Real ID. And again, I was talking about that in 2008. We're moving into a tracked, surveilled lifestyle at this point, and everybody's going to agree to it because of the panic. That just doesn't make any sense as we start to look at the numbers, trying to figure this out. And even Trump's telling us, everybody can go back to work by Easter, and by Tuesday, right? Just Tuesday, that's just a few days away, is the end of the 15-day cycle that they wanted to put us all through. I was like, wait a minute, the quarantine's almost over. I didn't even notice it had begun yet. Like, I haven't even got to quarantine yet. Hold on. So that's supposed to end Tuesday, but then of course they're not letting us out. So here we have them offering us this stimulus package, $2 trillion, which probably could have paid off everybody's home, is now going into it, even though they're telling us they're not going to keep us quarantined for 18 months or even 3 months, but let us all out of the cage by Easter. But yet you won't be, you'll be afraid of cash, and you'll be getting the stimulus check that might help you out, like $1,200 or less than $4,000 for a family of 4. The draconian method that is coming down. Any thoughts?
Stefan, you want to?
Sure. Listen, when the internet started, I first signed on to, telephone dial-in with America Online back in, I think, 1997, 96, something like that. I'll be honest with you, I knew right then and there that everything I did online would be tracked and noted. When I lived in Taiwan, because I was an expat, I hung around in an expat community, and I got to meet a lot of people you wouldn't normally meet. I hung out with triad bosses. I hung out with casino bosses. I hung out with ambassadors, you know, and movie stars and pop singers. And one of the people I hung out with was the CIA station chief for Taiwan. And Frank and Rosalie, they were a nice couple. They had a nice house with a swimming pool. They had a bar that was stocked with as much booze as you could possibly imagine. We'd have lots of parties over at his place. Rosalie liked to stay up all night watching zombie movies. But Frank was very forthcoming, you know, because I asked Frank, I said, listen, Frank, I hear that every telephone call is recorded. And this was in Taiwan, 1985, right? And he says, yes, it is. I said, well, how can they even, you know, filter through all that kind of information? He said, well, Taiwan labor is cheap. And I said, well, my buddy here who claims to have been working for the CIA and distributing LSD in San Francisco back during the Summer of Love, I said, personally, I think the guy's full of crap. He's obviously a psychopath. He's already murdered 2 people. I liked him, but he was a murderer, but he was charming, a psychopath, very handsome, very charming. And he told me these stories about then the FBI brought him in and they showed him the file they had on him, and it was as thick as a phone book. So I asked Frank, I said, Frank, you know, Richard's telling me these stories, real names, by the way, but they're all dead now. I said, Richard's telling me these stories that they got a file on him that's like a foot deep. I said, is that true? And he says, no, it's not true. The file on him is about 3 feet deep, you know. So he confirmed everything. And back in those days, this was before I became a conspiracy theorist. You know, I was just wanting to know the truth. Back in those days, they already confirmed to me that there is a file on every one of us. There's a file on Freeman. There's a file on Masaki. There's a file on Stefan. There's a file on everybody you know. And it's a big file. They already know everything about you. And this is long before the digital age where it was easy and cheap to gather information about you and keep it in on the hard drive, and they don't even have to print out a goddamn file for it. I knew back then that they were watching everything. And then when when the internet first came out, I thought, yeah, you know, this is a good opportunity for the government to just gather more and more information from us. So from the very beginning, I was careful. Number one, I never used an alias in my life. All my posts and my website and my email address, I never use an avatar or an alias because they know who you are anyways. And I didn't want to make the mistakes, the false confidence of using an alias might give you. So if you sign on to a board and you use some avatar that's not your real name, and then you start, you know, telling the world what you really think about the government. Yeah, look, they already know. It's, you know, you're in the book. As a matter of fact, you're in the book, and all 3 of us are also on the list. We will go when they start rounding us up. We're on top of the list there. So that is something that you got to figure out, that that's what they're doing. So now are they going to crack down? Well, you know, up until today, the government didn't know every time I went and had a pee. But from this point onward, they will. And it's been going on all along. We are in a fishbowl. They watch everything. There are files on you. When I came back, I lived in California for 12 years, and I came back to Canada, and I wanted to renew my, well, I forget what it was, my driver's license or my health card. I get a phone call from the government. Can you come in here? We need to interview you. This is the first time it's ever happened. So what do you mean, interview me? Well, we need to confirm your identity. Well, you know, I'm the same guy. I just lived in California for 12 years. No, you have to come down to the office. So they gave me the address, and it was a nondescript office building in an industrial area, and there were no signs anywhere that would indicate it was a government office. So there was a panel there. I had to push a button and enter a code and tell them I'm here for my appointment. They brought me into a room, and they started asking me questions. Where did you go to public school? Gosford. Oh, okay. And where did you live when you were 13? 32 Seacroft Crescent. And where did you go to junior high school, Jane Junior High School? And where, I mean,
Really?
they already had a file. They knew where I went to school. They know where I lived. They know what jobs I had. They already knew all this. It's already on file. So if you guys think that, we're not on the list, we're on the list. And everybody listening, because you're listening to Freeman, you're on the
Sorry,
list
guys.
too.
Yes, it's true. And to have the census 2020 going around at this exact moment also makes it a little freaky.
Yeah, look, they already know, that we're dealing with psychopathic control freaks. And they've been gathering this information on us for a long time. So the best thing we can do now is to get cunning and ruthless if we're going to survive what's coming. And by that, it's hard to describe. Read Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Read my book, The 36 Strategies of Ancient China. See how people in the past were really ruthless. You got to know how to turn the tables on these people. Now, listen, even though they're the biggest, baddest enemy we have ever faced in our life, everybody has a flaw, everybody has a weakness. And it's up to us to figure out what the weakness is and to get in between the cracks. But I don't know. Most people are just so naive and trusting and go along with it. Like, yeah, I like to trust people too, but I don't trust the government or anything associated with the government. And when you're dealing with these people, you better learn how to be ruthless and play the part. I recommend disguises, false IDs. You always have to have a cover story, which is, if you get caught doing something, then you've got 2 or 3 stories, lines of bullshit that you can feed the cops that you've already thought out well in advance, so that when you give them that line of bullshit, it sounds sincere. This
That's
is
very
like,
true.
it's spycraft.
I've had a lot of training with officers. So for me, to be able to stand in front of them and tell them what I think, or, what I want them to think, it has become a secondhand thing for me, because as a traveler, someone who's wandered around this United States in a van, trust me, I have dealt with authority more than most.
Mhm.
And so I have a lot of practice. A lot of practice at being mischievous, a liar, whatever you want to call it.
Yes,
I
yes,
lie to authority on the regular, because
good,
authority is not there to help. It never has been.
right,
It's there to protect the money. It's there to protect others. But you call in authority and you'll find that you're the one going to jail. So
yeah,
I have a long life of living in a police state from Florida, and I've had a lot of conditioning in how to not feel like they are authority. Honestly, that's really what it is. You realize that they are a jackbooted thug of a,
yeah.
so yes, that is
Like Mark
very,
Passio says, they're order takers. So
yes,
Freeman, you get what I'm talking about. I'm the same way. Like if cops pull me over, I charm the pants off of them. Uh, You know,
absolutely.
I've talked my way out of more tickets and arrests than you can imagine. Because I get their mentality, but I'm a very shy person, basically. But I taught myself how to bullshit. You know,
Yes, me
I taught
too.
myself. I had to go against my moral indignation because I always want
Yep.
to be truthful and authentic and all that, which is good when you're dealing with your wife and friends and family. But it's a disaster if you're being truthful and honest and forthright with authority. Then you got to know how to con these guys, and they can be conned. It's not hard to con
It's
the
not
cops.
hard. It's not hard. They are the biggest mind control slaves out there.
Yeah,
Neuro-linguistic programming on these guys is like an instant trigger. It's amazing.
yeah.
I'll tell them, hey, you're not going to find anything in that car. And they don't.
These are not the droids you are looking for.
Oh, on that point, though, if we realize that the cannabis clubs were kept open as an essential service,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
Because cannabis is a medicinal that is necessary for people, and it's so they got to stay open. Alcohol stores also were allowed to stay open, but
thank
that's
God.
because their users will die without it. You see, so there's a slight variation in why these two things were kept open. One, cannabis is helpful. Two, alcohol will kill you when you're cut off. So Another thing that really I felt was important to prepare were the luxury items. Now, if we are having the entire European, we're cut off from the rest of the world, how long are we going to have olive oil on the shelves? Chocolate, coconut milk, things of this nature. So I made sure to stockpile a lot of the things that I thought were luxury items that I would want. You live on rice and beans forever and ever. You're going to want a can of peaches. You're going to want a chocolate bar. You're going to want a cup of coffee. So these were the type of things that I started stockpiling on top of my stockpile. So we're coming to the end of this first hour already, guys, believe it or not. And we haven't even gotten through half of my list, which I didn't expect we would. But just to start to finalize this idea where we're at. Okay, so one thing that has been left out of this topic, and in the second hour, we're going to get into all the conspiracy theories. We're going to get into all the deeper, darker sides of this. But I wanted this one to be more about preparation, what we think we need and what we should do. So, another thing I did not think of was baking soda. What
I
a
just went to
helpful
the
item.
store and there's no baking soda there.
There is no baking soda. No, you will not find it. You won't find bleach. You won't find baking soda. These are the things I want people to know because, like you're saying, your shelves are still fine, mostly. I mean, you're
Except
in
for
LA.
baking soda. I just went today. I
Uh-huh.
use it every day.
So
to
that is
brush my
definitely
teeth
one
and
thing
to
to put on the
prevent
list.
heartburn. I need my baking soda. I can't live without it.
Um,
And
Well,
they're
you-
out.
Well,
Yeah.
Freeman, one thing that is not on even the regular preppers list is the energy tools. So you're talking about the copper tensoring pendants, the
I
pyramids.
got a colloidal
so
silver
forth.
generator.
Yeah. me
Yeah,
too.
I mean, all of the supplements and colloidal silver, I think people should get. But one of the things that I think up until this point, people thought I could get it anytime I want. So you have some of my tools, right?
I was
And
going to say, I've been trying all kinds of different frequencies on your pyramid. I turned it up to 120,000, somewhere around there, because I wanted to see, there was new science showing that they could pinpoint these frequencies at tumors. And, if they were finely tuned at it, that they could, easily dispel this. So obviously, this is your work. But so I started trying all sorts of different frequencies with my pyramid from Masaki Miyagawa, and I feel it. I do. I feel it.
Well, there's different classes of tools out there to neutralize the harmful component of the EMF, but I think that the so-called 5G is rolling out. Well, guess what? They're already working on 6G, 7G. So, and these are standards that 5G is not a singular frequency. It's a bandwidth. So it includes everything we have now and extends it up to 72 gigahertz, which is insane. But I think that just like everybody has a pair of sneakers, a coat, a winter jacket, I think people should really look into the energy tools such as shungite, the copper tensor ring pendants, orgone or orgonite pyramids, because not only are you protecting yourself, but I think you've had some experience, right, Freeman? The side benefit is it actually starts bumping up your mentation. And this is a kind of like so-called spiritual battle, but you could say it more simply. It's energetic or a frequency battle too. So definitely prep on everything like the food, the supplements, those kinds of things. But I definitely have more peace of mind, having some of these energy tools, because I don't know if you guys notice this, and I have no way to prove this, but I've been driving around some of the towers in LA, the cell towers, and I'm like wincing when I drive by because it seems like they're turned up to 11 right now,
Yeah, I believe that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stefan, last thoughts for this hour for what people should have thought of that didn't, just like baking soda. I'm just trying to make sure we all, my brain has been overwhelmed with what have I forgotten? And so
Right.
I'm just trying to go through that and figure it out. Gillnet, baking soda, bleach,
Ham radio.
a ham radio or a CB, right?
Ham radio, because I've got one, and I'll tell you, it's not that I plan on using it to transmit, because I'm who am I going to talk to? But you can tune in. I've got the frequencies for every um, police band, fire department, ambulance, and even the trunk lines where the police, fire, and ambulance all talk on the same channel. And we had a blackout here about 5 years ago. We had a severe thunderstorm, and it knocked everything out, and we were without power for 8 days. And I tuned in. I've got the emergency radio, AM, FM weather, and I tried to find out information about what was going on, and nothing. There's nothing. These AM radio stations. Oh, there's rain today. Yeah, okay, we're already 6 feet flooded. We figured that out. Completely useless. So then I turned on the ham radio and I tuned it into the police, ambulance, fire department channel. And within 20 minutes, I knew everything that was going on in this city. I knew what parts of the city were flooded. I knew which roads were closed down. I knew that the ambulances and the fire departments were overwhelmed. They weren't responding to any more 911 calls. Within 20 minutes. I knew when they closed down the highways. I knew when they sealed off the city. I knew that there were police searching the ravine for children that were washed away in a sudden flood. I knew there were people trapped in elevators in every one of the damn condominiums in the city, and there were rescue teams trying to get into the elevators. I knew everything that was going on in this city within 20 minutes by listening to my ham radio. Now, a police scanner is a good thing too, but the only difference is, well, the police scanner makes it easier for you to listen in. But with the ham radio, you have to know the frequency. But I just went online and I printed out a list of every frequency. Air traffic control. Private security companies. I can listen into what they're doing. So you have to manually tune it into your ham radio. But in case of an emergency, I can still transmit. And then I've got a 20-foot dipole antenna that I can attach to this little radio, hang it up in a tree, and I can get reports from Japan, Mexico. So from across the country, because I want to know what's going on all over the place, so I know what's going on in my immediate area, but it's also good to know that, oh, well, California, they're rounding people up and sending them to camps. So is that coming my way? It's good to have a heads up. And the only way you'll get that is by listening in on your ham radio. And you can get one $60. Baofeng, get it on Amazon. They already stopped importing them into Canada. Canada shut down our ham radio access. Can you believe that? Which tells me that they are really serious about taking this to the next level when they're taking away, not only is every gun store sold out of guns and ammo, not only is every gold dealer sold out of silver and gold, you can't even get ham radios here in Canada. So that's a bad news, because when things are shut down, the internet and all that. Freeman, I could talk to you if you had a ham radio.
I'm going to get one.
Okay. $60 on Amazon. Baofeng. They're cheap, but they work good. They're made out of plastic, so just don't drop them.
Right. And another thing might be like a dual fuel generator. I know that my power cable went down outside my house here. It wasn't one of the electrical cables, but there's been a cable laying in my street from the power cables for over a week. So if that had been shutting down my power, I would have already been without power for a week, because no one came to fix this cable. So another one would be some sort of dual fuel generator that doesn't necessarily has to have enough power to power your entire house, but can, they're not that expensive.
Just enough to recharge the batteries and get the freezer cold again.
Right.
And to go with that, here's a funny one. Extension cords.
Yes.
Because what they did in the condominium complex when I lived during the blackout, they brought in portable generators. But most of the people could not access them because they didn't have an extension cord to go out to the sidewalk to plug it in. I did. I have a 40-foot cable,
tip. Good idea. I do have 100-foot cable given to me by the Duffs way back in the day when I had the school bus in 2012. They made me my own specially made. I don't. It's like it's a mile long. I don't know. It's at least 50 yards long. I don't know how long this cable is, but I could plug it anywhere. Another thing on that note is something that I used to use as a tool when I lived in a vehicle, which was one of those light bulb adapters that has an outlet on it. Because quite often, and even when I lived in apartments, when I couldn't pay my bills, I could go into the outside hall where there was lighting and I could screw in that light bulb adapter with the plug on it and then screw the light bulb back on. And then I could plug my whole apartment back in using the light bulb outside of my door. So a little light bulb adapter with a plug on it in case you need to steal your neighbor's electricity or some other source.
Sure.
That's something
Yeah, it's a
that
good idea. Living in Taiwan, I know that a lot of places used to steal their hydro right off the right off the hydro pole. Some guy would shimmy up there and splice right into it.
Right. We're going to be learning all these tactics. Now, let's not forget that we too cannot let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah.
This is our time. This is our moment. Everything is in chaos, and yet we're now the sane ones. We're now the intelligent ones. I remember Y2K, everybody freaking out on me, calling me a freak because I decided to have some rice and water in my house, and it's still happening now when the shit has obviously hit the fan, and I keep telling people, and this is what I just keep trying to reemphasize, is my store shelves are empty. If I wanted rice and beans, I cannot have it. And I've gone to all the stores now to try and see if they're.
Well, Freeman, there's a reason why they're doing this right now, and that they are highly tapped into the cycles and the astrological signs and symbols. 2020, this symbolizes the year of the master builder. That 22 is called a master number in numerology. But guess what? If they're rolling out their 2030 plan, as individuals, we sure as hell better start putting our plans in action, because it works both ways. It's not just for them.
Right.
So, and this is the time for people to, go to their calling, because, if the average person is thinking, well, I'm just going to go along to get along, keep my head down. Well, look at what's happening right now. There's no time left, Freeman. The time is now. And I was telling you earlier, I actually feel confident in the kind of people that we are, the years that we've been into information and shows like yours. It's time to I think the time for learning is coming to a close, and it's the time for going operational or putting things in action. So that's the time we're in right now.
Yeah, I'm ready to go rainbow full time. Go ahead.
I have a free download on my website. It's a booklet that I found, and I edited it and redesigned it so it's more legible. It's called "How to Master Secret Work," and it was published by the Communist Party, and it shows you how to establish underground covert revolutionary cells, and secret ways of communicating, and how to check each other out and things like that. Download that. This is the kind of stuff we're going to need to know, right? Because we're under martial law, and I'm almost finished my next video, which is called "How to Survive Martial Law," and it's excerpted from my book, "The Art of Urban Survival." To counteract these things, we have to use what they did to overthrow our society, which is form secretive underground groups that cooperate and work together and look after each other and keep secrets. So you have to know, code words and check routes, and you always have to have a cover story for everywhere you go, and the use of disguises to avoid facial recognition. Listen, we got to know how to do that stuff so that we can hide from them, because they are locking us down with this surveillance system. They're definitely coming through with this 2030. It's going to be ugly. Like, I really have I think it's going to be a lot worse than everybody's thinking. Like, I like to joke about it and keep my spirits up. I'll probably survive. All the people I tried to warn that said, "Oh, you're a conspiracy theory." Well, I'm sorry about it. They're probably all going to be dead in a year. Um, but I'll still be around, so I'm okay. But for everybody, you gotta become a little bit more ruthless, a little bit more cunning. Listen, the psychopaths that took over our society, the reason they took over is because they were more cunning and more ruthless than we are. And I'm not saying hurt innocent people or children or anything like that, but when it comes to the government, whatever you can get over on them, whatever you can, if you can, whatever it is, if apply for welfare and famine relief and get into the food lines, take everything you can, and at the same time try to sabotage the bastards, uh, spread disinformation, underground memes and newsletters and flash drives filled with important information. Like, if everybody's worried about being bored, well, download all your favorite movies onto a flash drive and make sure you have a tablet, and then get like I have. I've got the a portable solar panels that I can set up and recharge my laptop, and I can watch all my movies. They're on the laptop if I want to watch movies. I don't watch movies. I have books. Everybody forgets about books. What do I do? I'm so bored. Read a book. I would love to spend a couple of weeks just reading.
That's what I keep saying. Like, come on, give me the quarantine. I'm ready.
Yeah.
But we all have to pay our bills, as Trump just figured out. And
Yeah.
but we're gonna get deeper and deeper into this. We got much more to talk about. Another hour to go. So let's take a little break here and let me get all the good stuff out of the way. If you guys want to pick up on the news articles I'm sharing, thoughts, theories, and everything, of course, follow me at Freeman TV on Twitter. And that is my main form of social networking, because I've been banned from everywhere else. So, if you want to follow me at Freeman TV on Twitter. And of course, go to freemantv.com and subscribe and get all of this stuff. Realize that we've been talking about this for 2 decades, at least 15 years. And, get all the good data that you can get from all of that to understand the lifestyle that we can generate from this. Because this is all I've ever talked about, is how we finally get back to being human. Of course, we have to thank Steve Mercer, producer Steve at freemantv.com. Give him lots of love for keeping this going and keeping it going together and everything rolling. So thank you, Steve, so much. And of course, Steve is now starting to make some appearances on Robert Phoenix's programs and others. So I think he's also with Emily Moyer and things. So Steve's now starting to make his appearance on the stage. So that's great. So write to producer Steve at freemantv.com for any guest suggestions, show comments, or anything like that. And of course, China Strategies. Wait, what's that? That was Joe Atwell, isn't it? Let me get my website. Okay, so Stefan Verstappen. Give everybody your digits to tell them where they can download everything. And
Sure. Everything is. Oh, and by the way, I've given Steve so much love. I think he's got an STD by now.
we all love Steve.
Yes. And Beth sends her love too, and I've been working a lot with Beth, helping her with her preps. I mean, she's called me every day now. What should I buy? What should I buy? What should I buy? So she's got, she's doing good now. She's really prepared. She's fortified her apartment. She's ready to go.
Good time to be a life coach.
Yeah, good time to be a life coach. If you want to survive apocalypse, the end of the world, then call me.
Right.
But my website is China Strategies, which was, I got that domain name after my first book on China Strategies. It has nothing to do with China. I'm not associated with China. I hate the communist Chinese. Hate them. They're evil. But ChinaStrategies.com, and you've got all my stuff is on there.
Fantastic. And Masaki?
Well, for my most up-to-date stuff, I've been putting out reports on Pyramid Power on Patreon, just covering a lot of what we talked about today. For the energy tools such as powered pyramids, tensor pendants, and so forth. Akaida.com. It's AKAIDA.com, and Akaida TV on YouTube.
Fantastic. All right, guys, we're going to take a little break and we will be right back to get deeper into the nefarious tactics of what's going on, get a little more into the conspiracy theories and a little bit of the darker subjects. I just wanted to make sure we got you all prepared and in the right mindset as we begin. But believe me, there's much to come. So we will see you in just a minute.